Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. We are working on so many things behind the scenes right now and want to give you some content. We're going to go recap some of the great history moments, stats, why I have some few slides to show the NEL's past to where we are today. We also will talk over a couple of things that happened in the news in the NEL this past weekend. We'll touch on that as well. But before we get into what's all in the NAL this week. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, look up tickets, find tickets. Guarantee there's Valentine's specials everywhere. Go take your loved ones to the NAL games of the week. Visit thenationalarenaleague.com for ticket information of all 9 league organizations. And also visit their websites individually, all accessible at thenationalarenaleague.com. But also, before we get into the news and notes of this, let's get through the lovely people who sponsor National Arena League and this show, especially. Are you ready for what's next, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. Southern New Hampshire University offers flexible, affordable online degrees built for your schedule. With over 200 programs and real support from day one, your future starts now. Visit snhu.edu today. Education that works for you. Also, gear up and represent your team with the official merch at nalshop.com. From all 9 National Arena League teams, you'll find jerseys, hats, and fan gear all in one place. Shop your team, wear your pride, and bring the energy all season long. Visit nalshop.com today. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that's strange sometimes. Sometimes technology doesn't work for you, like you just saw right there. But again, thanks to NHAU for the continued support of the program and the National Arena League. And of course, merch. Get your merch at nalshop.com. But I know there's some other questions a lot of fans are asking. Some news dropped this past week, and I can't really put my finger on what the news was this week. But let's recap the news of the week.
In the backfield, he gives it to Rosario on the big back, takes it into the end zone.
It's a loss at this period. Nice play. He's got him.
Brought in the downfield.
He's got him. Touchdown.
Here at the slaughterhouse, urging the defense on sale. Looks end zone. He's got it. That's Bissett Woodley.
Subscribe now. Never miss a moment.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this past weekend, we launched the official NAL network. You can easily accessible at nal-network.com. Click on the link. It gets you right to some good content. Remember, the NAL is the National Arena League's official streaming hub from your home, live games, exclusive network-only shows, video on demand, archives, and much more to be announced at a later date. Access it at nal/network.com or visit the hyperlink on nalshop.com. You can visit on the mobile and connected TV devices. All archive games are free for viewing. With the purchase of all access plan, get 20% off your entire purchase or your entire next purchase at nalshop.com. That is the full subscription, the full package of the NAL shop. You can get it at NAL shop and you get the 20% discount. You can go to nalshop.com as you see on the screen right here, ladies and gentlemen. You see, you just click the buy, $29.99, all access subscriptions to the NAL network. There's so much content on the way to the network. A lot of it I really can't talk about. We're working on behind the scenes, but hopefully you guys tune in, get to watch some of the classic games. Any people will ask, like, what type of games are you talking about, Jim? Is it old archive games? What's going on? Well, if you're watching on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, right now, sometimes the computer will not work, and sometimes it will. So let's see what the technology. There it goes. Technology is a little slow today, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see on the screen right here, you see what the NAL network is on the background. As you can see, the live games. It's like you can see, you can watch the entire game from beginning to end. exclusive on the NAL. You can back up, look at the categories of all the games that you can watch. Especially, you just click on it, boom, right there. Game starts, perfect video quality, all the entire games, the whole archive ready for the NAL. Just click on NAL Shop. And of course, when you want to look at upcoming games, let's say the first game for the Ruby, click on it. You have to click on the watch button. You have to subscribe. When you subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, you get everything from the NAL. You'll get exclusive content that will be announced at a later date. You'll get every single game through the NAL network. There's many questions out there that when you look in the streaming world of sorts, as you can tell, I'm going to have the video play in the background so you guys know what's going on, so you can see what the action is for the NAL. Let's put on this game right here so you can get some easy quality. Let's put some action on there so you can see some action. There we go. This is what you expect from the NAL. This is exactly what you'll expect. Click on here, and the good thing about the features, if you see on the right side of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, the right side highlights, you can create your own highlights. You can clip, boom, and you can create your own highlights, be interactive. We've had this talk behind the scenes. We want the fans to be more interactive. This is what the NAL network is about. You get to watch the games. You get to create your own highlights. You get to do everything, which is cool for the access. It's very, create clip, boom. Name the client, enter name, bam. There you go. Access like crazy. And of course, you can go on the team page and get each individual teams. You can click on their games and it'll pop up what games will come up, or you want to just follow. If you like your team, let's say like here, we clicked and followed on. That's your favorite team. That will pop up and it will specifically show schedules and games for your favorite team as the season progresses. It's a lot crazy, good content. Like, that's one thing that we can talk about as a fandom and as fans of not just the sport itself. The NAL network is you could say it's a trend in sports. We saw other leagues do it, and we noticed from a perspective of the sport itself and for the overall quality of the game and sports period, we see major networks for major leagues, the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, very successful. What we're doing here is we want to bring the fans to NAL content. When they come to the network, they know they're going to get NAL content. That's what they know what they're going to get. And you're going to get highlights, you're going to get full games, and you're going to get exclusive content that will be coming down the road. There are things behind the scenes that are in the works I think are going to be very entertaining. They bring you, the fans, more content for the team itself, the league itself, players, the coaches, more access than ever before, and it will only be exclusive on the NAL network. You won't see it on any other platforms. One thing about this show, Inside the Walls, we will be accessible outside of the network. You can get everything from this show here, and we'll do it each and every week like we plan to do, cover the season, cover the games, and make you, the fans, get closer, but also still have those in-depth interviews, those highlight moments, and some of the groundbreaking plays. Because as we mentioned last week on the show, we want you, the fans, to be so part of this show with the highlights, the top tens, and actually there's more things coming down the wire that I want the fans to be more interactive with. This show will be on all platforms, but for NAL Network, you're going to have highlights, you're going to have games, archive and new, especially live games, and more exclusive content that will be announced at a later date. It's $30, $29.99. If you become a full membership, you get 20% off of the NAL shop. And you go on NALshop.com, ladies and gentlemen. You're getting a lot of content, getting a lot of good merch, and you're just building up your fandom. If you're a fan of the sport, you can collect all the gear from all the teams and have a good collection when you look back at it for a few years from now. That's NAL-network.com. Visit NAL-network.com. Also, the National Arena League website has it. All 9 organizations have a hyperlink where you can click on and get on the network itself. Keep up to date with news and notes for the National Arena League and its network announcements that will be coming in the future. Follow us on all social media platforms at NALfootball.com. later in the month, we will have a State of the League address with Commissioner Brandon Eichert. We will break down more about the network, more things that we're doing behind the scenes. And for you fans, remember, keep an eye on that. This episode, not going to be as long as usual, but I wanted to do an episode that make you fans really appreciate the sport that we're in. Because in the National Arena League, over the years, we've seen great moments. We've seen great statistics. We've seen some eye-popping numbers. But we also know one thing is for sure. The fandom, the sport, and the pageantry that is indoor and arena football. But before we go into the short history and some highlights and some interesting news and notes of the history of the National Arena League and what 2026 can bring, we also got to look back at the past. At the same time, last week, if you missed last week's episode, we announced our playoff bracket for the 2026 season. And a lot of the questions we get asked is how is the second round formulated? 3, number 1 seed, number 2 seed. Number 1 plays the lowest remaining seed, which means if all scenarios are in place, the 6, the 5, and the 4 seed will travel to the 1. That is if the 3 seed wins. But in another way of this game, or can you say, well, I can project, the 3, the 4, and the 5 can travel to 2, the 4, the 5, the 6 travel to 1. So you know the bracket. Playoffs start June 5th, the weekend of June 5th, and they cap off the weekend of June 20th for championship weekend, where the highest seed each round hosts the playoff and / championship game. That was announced last week. 16 playoff, 13-week season with a postseason. It's going to be exciting, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually looking forward to this season. There's some good matchups that are coming in the future that I can't wait to get on and talk about. But one of the things that really sparks not just the passion of the sport, it's the fandom. The announcements made by leagues and teams and the interactions we see on social media is truly a blessing. Remember, to the fans, without you, we don't exist. Without you, the teams don't exist. So remember, visit thenationalarenaleague.com, click on the 9 organization pages, go get tickets now. Get your tickets, buy your seats, get in the arenas and support, because there's some players on these teams that some are familiar names. Some would be like, wait a minute, he plays for them? We'll get into that as we get closer to the season. There's something we're working on behind the scenes that would be something that I think tells a good story and opens up just not the NAL in a different perspective, but gives the opportunities for the players to really put their name out there. So I can't wait for that project to be announced and you know what's going on next. But when I talk about the National Arena League, people think about the history. What do you think about the history? In the comments section below, type your favorite moment in NAL history, the best play, the most epic moment that you know, the biggest comeback. What was your fond memory of the National Arena League? Put in the comments below or share a picture of that moment, because you might have that picture posted on the next episode Inside the Walls for your fan interaction, because remember, you're now a part of the show. We need some content. So share what you think the NAL brought to you. And it doesn't mean if your team is still in the league or your team is currently in another league but has played in the NAL. Let us know. What was your moment? Who's your favorite player? What was your most epic matchup that you remember? What game stands out to you? Like, man, I can relive this game 100 times. Let us know. Because the National Arena League is not just a game, not just a sport, not just a venue. It is, in my honest opinion, a community effort. Without the fans, without the dedicated players that go through the grind each and every offseason to get in the regular season and then go into the season to perform, and is the the fan bases like we've seen in the past. That just the rivalries that get, rivalries that start with the fans that end up on the field, and you see the vice versa where the field then resonates to create a rivalry with the two fan bases. That's one good thing about the sport. But when we come back after this, we're going to look over some numbers and some strange statistics over the NAL's history. Some of them may be eye-popping. Some may be like, never thought of that, but it'd be pretty cool. And now, again, I ask you, what's your favorite moment? Who do you think should be on this list? Who do you think should be on this list? Because there's a question at the end of the episode that I'm going to ask, and I want you, the fans, to you do exactly this. We'll talk about it next week. But wait till after the end of the episode where we know your homework assignment for this week. We'll be back after this. This is Inside the Walls podcast here, covering the National Arena League. We'll be back right after these messages.
I earned my degree online at Southern New Hampshire University.
After I graduated, I started a new job.
I was finally able to realize my purpose and passion in life.
Pursuing my degree gave me so many opportunities to grow. Don't just think about yourself. Think about the lives that you can really change.
SNHU laid the groundwork.
I am doing what I've always wanted to do.
If I was back at the beginning, I would choose SNHU all over again.
In the backfield, he gives it to Rosario on the big back, takes it into the end zone.
It's a loss at this period. Nice play. He's got him.
Brought in the downfield.
He's got him. Touchdown.
Here at the slaughterhouse, urging the defense on sale, looks end zone. He's got it. That's Bissett Woodley.
Subscribe now. Never miss a moment.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of Inside the Walls. I am Jim Renier. Again, like I said, what's your homework assignment? Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Your homework assignment. Name me your top 5 top NAL players of all time. No matter what version of the sport, the arena style, the indoor style, let me know. Who's your top 5 players in your you could say Mount Rushmore, but Mount Rushmore. Well, yeah, let's do that. The Mount Rushmore. What is your Mount Rushmore of the National Arena League? The top players. But speaking about top players and top performers, the National Arena League has been around since 2017. It's had 32 teams that called the league its home in its duration, entering year 9. This would have been year 10 technically, but the COVID season shut down not just our league but the world. The NAL has had some unique moments and some crazy outcomes. But how crazy are we talking about? Well, did you know the largest margin of victory in the NAL was 70 points by the Columbus Lions over the Orlando Predators in 2021? There's been 3 total shutouts in a season in the NAL. 2 technically full shutouts. One of them wasn't completed in 2019. Carolina led at halftime by a large amount of money, a large amount of points. Game was suspended due to facility issues. 3 total shutouts in the NAL's history. Weird. How hard is that? Shutouts in league play. In 2018, it was Jacksonville over the Mass Pirates. In 2019 was the Carolina Cobras over the New York Streets, and in 2021 was the Columbus Lions over the Orlando Predators. 77-point deficit is also the largest winning margin of victory in the National Arena League in its history. But again, I mentioned the Columbus Lions. They're on this thing multiple times. speaking about multiple times, that's the thing about the history of the sport. That's what the NAL is about. Most playoff appearances, the Columbus Lions, 7. Most championship appearances, the Carolina Cobras, 4. Most titles, the Jacksonville Sharks. And of course, as you know, the last couple of years, the Omaha Beef won theirs 2 years ago. Last year, the Beaumont Renegades. The Albany Empire won back-to-back in 21 and 22, or 21 and 22. And then you sprinkle the Sharks in there 3 times for their championships. So the balance of power in the NAL moves each and every year. This year, there's a champion. There will be a champion. There will be a new champion. And then if the trend continues, we will be going to the 5th year with a 5th different champion. Only 3 teams in NAL history has won multiple titles: Cobras, Empire, and Sharks. And only 3 teams have consistently made the postseason. Well, as I mentioned, the Carolina Cobras, with the most championship game appearances, also host the second most playoff appearances of any team. But as the league transitioned to the new era over to the indoor rules, the statistics and numbers changed some, but some names stayed the same. Especially the coaches. The top 5 winningest coaches in the NAL, number 1 is Jason Gibson with 49, Silas Burley with 34, Coach Fred Shaw of the Colorado Spartans is the current active leader in the NAL with 23, Billy Back with 21, and Coach Resinalo at 20. Followed by Tomanos and Brandon Negron. Tomanos also at 20, and Negron just 4 wins behind that at 16. Numbers that are unique into the game. But when you look into the depth of the game of the NAL, you also got to look at wins total for teams. The top 5 most wins, Carolinas has the most wins ever, 52, followed by the Lions at 42, Sharks at 40, Empire Mass tied at 19, and look at Omaha. In there at 5th place with 17 wins. They look like they'll go up in that number in the top 4 this upcoming season. And only is a short time in the NAL. But when we look at the NAL, we look at players. When I started covering this league multiple years ago, names I look at, I go, well, no one's going to know these players. It's going to take forever for these players to become household names, and they become household names just not in this league, but in other leagues. Guys like Mike Faithful, Darius Prince, Devin Wilson, Mishad Robinson, Ziegler, CJ Kane, so many players. I have names going crazy in my head. But when you look at the history of players, some stand out and have remarkable statistics. And I could list the whole number of this, ladies and gentlemen, but I just wanted to get the 3 most noticeable ones. Most passing touchdowns in the game was held by Malik Henry in 23, Carolina against West Texas. The most deuces in a single game, also the deuce record in the NAL, is held by Ryan Debo Weber with 7 in 1 game. And the most passing yards in a season, Sam Castronova in 21. Correction. Most passing yards in 22, not 21. 22. But there's also players you look back in the NAL and go, they played in the NAL. Guys like Joe Hillis, Crawford, Tommy Grady, Arvell Nelson. Names that you look at go, did they really play for teams like that? And also stars you see in other leagues came from the NAL and made themselves in the NAL. Kendrick Ings, James Summers, Kerry Starks, and quarterbacks that you never really thought made their foundings in the NAL and went on to do much better things. Even though they entered their career in other leagues, they elevated their performance in the NAL. Guys like Jonathan Bain, the name of the individual. Also, you can mention guys that you look at go, and I can see what they're talking about. Jonathan Bain was an individual. Sam Castronova is a guy who started for Carolina with the San Antonio. Then you look at the receivers, and you look at linebackers like Nick Hag, and you look at Bont Brown, who played for the Lions in Carolina, ZB as we call them. And there's individuals that you see, you go, where did he come from? Then you honestly go, didn't realize he played here. It's the thing about our sport. The National Arena League has been around 9 seasons, and most likely the most common household name who played in indoor football or in arena-style football at one point played in the NAL. And if not, it seems like he did, right? But we can also see this with coaching staffs as well, and even coaches, guys like James Fuller, guys like Fred Shaw from San Antonio to Colorado. You have individuals that over the years you see the evolution of the league. And in 2026, we look at the league and go 9 organization, and we see other new individuals coming out. We see the rosters formulating. You go, Colorado's bringing back their defense from last year with offensive firepower and also an NFL draft pick and Paxton Lynch. You look at Omaha; they're reloading and trying to really reclaim the Western Conference. They reclaim the conference like they did last year. They reclaimed the Western Conference. They're trying to reclaim the league again this year. Sioux City is loaded up to probably one of the most competitive quarterback battles that we'll see this season. And then you look at Louisiana, getting a lot of young guns with a lot of fiery spirit, trying to become the true underdog story of the league. Then we look at Robert Kent Jr., a legend, journeyman quarterback in the indoor arena game, finally getting a head coaching job with the Dallas Bulls. Does he put his experience as a player to the field to put their team in position to compete? Then we look at Pueblo, then we look at Amarillo, and then we look at Southwest Kansas, teams that historically over the years, no matter what league they played in, they're always a competitive organization. When we look at the history of the NAL, 31 teams call the NAL home. And in the 31 year, wow, that's a lot. We're not that old, ladies and gentlemen. But in the 9 years of the existence of the National Arena League, an interesting stat popped up, and I want you, the fans, to know this. Teams who have started 2-1 or less, record 2-1 to start the season, have made the postseason 83% of the time. And teams that started the regular season 1-2 over that time span, only 24% made the playoffs. That's an interesting stat. And there's more stats I can go into, and that stat may not be highly accurate because sometimes stats are wrong. But in the National Arena League, we have seen numbers and players that are just eye-popping. I physically remember Malik Henry going off in West Texas one day. All of us just going up and down the field, throwing in big-time numbers up on West Texas. I see Ryan D. Weber hitting deuces galore. Then I see Marco Orozco when he was in Albany winning playoff games, won deuces. And I seen then the Carolina with ZB, with Ziegler, and James Summers, and Kendrick Ings, and Adam Smith, and Jonathan Bain, a mean organization in the Carolina Cobras just dominate their way through the regular season to get the epic matchup against the Empire. And you had the ragtag Columbus Lions full with some vets from Foster to Mason to what we call them here in my hometown, Skip. But you look at so many players in the history. It's one thing about football. The offseason always brings expectations. But we always look in the past. A lot of teams this offseason will get hyped to be the next second coming of the greatest team ever to play, end up being disappointments. And there will be teams that no one will talk about that will rise to the top and host that trophy. We saw that last season. But as we progress in the offseason, and as we get closer to camp, go look at the roster of some of these teams. You'll see a lot of familiar faces. You'll see Aaron Aiken. You'll see Ed Crouch. You'll see Talon Shaw. You'll see names of players that you go, wait a minute. Did he play for them a couple years ago? And then you look at quarterbacks like Max Ruck. Then you look at teams and go, was that the running back that went off in the championship game? There are individuals that you'll see on these rosters. And as fans, we look and go, I think this is going to be a good team. But it's on paper. Some of these coaching staffs are loaded as well. Certain teams have multiple head coaches. That's my opinion. Coaches that deserve to have their own teams. And they're on the one staff. That's the thing about the sport. And that's the thing about the NAL. What's the most unique stat or memory you have of the NAL? Let us know. One of mine interesting stats is the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks are a team from the first 2 years of the league. And I remember talking about it in an old podcast years ago. They went from a team that was the most dominant team in the first year, a couple of losses to tough teams, and then in the second year, they did the polar opposite. The Lehigh Valley Steelhawks, unfortunately, have the record for the longest losing streak. But they also have the record for the most points scored in a single season. They were a dominant offense. But in the NAL, the largest comeback ever in the NAL history was in that postseason in 2017, when the Lions came back from 19 points down to beat the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks and to advance to the championship game. There are moments in these games that we look back at and go, this is why we love this game. It's just not the moments. It's not the bickering online with fan bases and friendly rivalries with opponents. It's the joy that we bring to the game. As we embark on the 2026 season, remember what led to this point. And remember the players that don the uniforms of these teams and where they're now. Where are they at now? Some of them are coaches. Some of them are in high school being head coaches. Some of them are elevating their careers into the NFL, the CFL, the XFL, or the UFL, or taking their talents overseas as some competitive football in Europe. But when we look back at the history of the NAL, we got to remember, sometimes the early struggles in the early years make you better appreciate the sport later you get and the older you get. So when you look at the 2026 season and you go, what are the stats? What are the epic numbers? Can we get to a certain moment where we go back and go, was that the best game ever played? Can we get that type of matchup again? Will we ever see another matchup like the 2024 NAL championship game between Sioux City and Omaha? Will we see a postseason where will we see a postseason where 6 teams are still eligible to make the postseason go into the final week of the season? Will we have that again? Will we have a team that no one's talking about become that shining spot in the league that wins everything? All those questions will be answered in a few weeks. But when we look at the history of the NAL, the things that we look at, the most intriguing matchups, the most epic moments, the top things, we wanted you, the fans, to know what the history is of the league and what the fans remember it by. Or your top, again, Mount Rushmore players of the National Arena League. What is your favorite moment ever in the National Arena League? No matter what year. I can name you mine, but I'll have a couple coaches text me, message me, and said, "We know why you like that one." But it's one thing I love about doing this. I get to tell the story, to help tell the story of these teams and these organizations as they progress into the future for 2026 and beyond. And there's things that we're doing behind the scenes that will elevate that overall experience. Sometimes we have to look at the past and look at the numbers and look at the stats, the most wins, what coaches have had the upper end of things. And you got to look at and pay respect to some players that have done phenomenal things in their history. the biggest shutout, 77 point spread, most playoff appearances, the most wins. They're all numbers. They're all stats. They're all statistics. We can go to attendance numbers in history where the Jacksonville Sharks have had the highest attendance for a championship game. But because I couldn't really get more stats and depth throughout the league because of the over the years and how the buildings and arenas change, I couldn't really, give you full information on that statistic. But no matter if there's 10,000 fans or 5,000 fans in the stadium, these teams need you. And they need you to buy their tickets, attend the games, be rowdy, be crazy, and give these players a fan base that these players will go out there each and every week, put their body on the line to give you entertainment and to pursue a dream. And remember, visit thenationalarenaleague.com and visit all 9 organizations for ticket information for your favorite NAL team. Valentine's Day tickets are on sale. There are some tickets that are coming down the pipe for these organizations, and you keep track of them. thenationalarenaleague.com, click on the team's websites, or visit them on all social media. Speaking about social media, visit NAL Football at NAL Football on Twitter, X, Instagram. And also just look up National Arena League on Facebook for more information for the National Arena League. Also, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the National Arena League launched the NAL Network. Visit nal-network.com and get the exclusive package. You can visit NAL Shop and click right now. Buy now. $29.99 gets the full entire package of the National Arena League. If you're for now joining this broadcast, this is the official streaming hub of your National Arena League games, exclusive network-only shows, and video on demand, archive games, and much more to be announced at a later date. Visit nalnetwork.com. Mobile and connected devices are accessible. You can click on it right now and view free games from, well, let's put up that screen again. The free games that you can achieve on the, well, again, technology does not work for me sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. But again, free games you can click. You go on the website, nalnetwork.com. Scroll down and you can see, oh, look, you're following your favorite team. We clicked on the Colorado Spartans, for example, and you can just click on the game and the game pops up. You get the game from last year and you're watching it live. The nalnetwork.com. That's nal-network.com for more information of the National Arena League and the NAL Network. $29.99. NAL Network is the official streaming platform of the National Arena League. With that, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoy this episode. In the next couple of days, you're going to see, well, some content that's going to come out for us. Keep an eye out of the league streaming. Keep an eye out on the NAL State of the Union address, both with Brandon Eichert and myself on the next episode. We don't know what date that's going to be next week, but it will be next week to give you more in-depth information about the NAL, what's going on behind the scenes, what's coming up next, and then get you, the fans, ready for the 2026 season and beyond. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, visit nalshop.com for all your merch needs. Also for higher education, SNHU education that works for you. Visit snhu.com. I am Jim Mernier. This has been an episode of Inside the Walls podcast. We'll see you next week. Remember, fans, what's your Mount Rushmore of the favorite players in the NAL? Top moments. Remember, send your photos, send your pictures, do everything. You might get featured in next week's episode of Inside the Walls. I am Jim Mernier. This is Inside the Walls podcast here on the National Arena League YouTube and Facebook page. We'll be back next week for more of Inside the Walls podcast. Hopefully everyone's having a blessed week. I got that this